Alright, so hello everyone, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're gonna take a quick look at our newest secondary weapon that was released with a bunch of cosmetics, the Quatz. And I'm sorry I can't say it in any other way, it is just the Quatz, it will always be the Quatz, it is just too much fun to say the word Quatz. Now, first things first though, if you want to get your hands on the Quatz, you can buy the blueprint from the market for 40,000 credits, and then to build the weapon you have to invest additional 30,000 credits, 2 argon crystals, 5 neurodes, 4,200 rubido, and 12,750 salvage. The Quatz is a very interesting BC indeed, because it is a fully automatic pistol if you're just firing from the hip, but as soon as you aim down sights it becomes a 4-round burst pistol that also has a unique mechanic where if you reload from an empty magazine it does a shockwave around you that does a little bit of electricity damage and procs electricity on any enemy it hits. Now, the weapon requires you to be at least Mastery rank 9 and it does 29 damage per bullet regardless of whether you're going full auto or you're just bursting. 11 out of which is electricity, 9 is impact, 7 is slash, and only 2 is puncture. It also has 72 rounds in the magazine with 504 rounds in total and a pretty lengthy 2.7 second reload time. And the rest of the stats depends on which fire mode you're using. So if you're going full auto you can fire up to 50 rounds per second with a 13% crit chance, a 1.5 times crit multiplier, and 27% status chance, whereas if you go into burst mode you can fire up to 10 rounds per second with once again 4 rounds in a burst, so 116 damage in total, with a pretty chunky 27% crit chance and above average 2.5 times crit multiplier, but a lower status chance of only 19%, which is still pretty solid. Now, when it comes to the setup on the Quatz, I went with a pretty straightforward 4-Forma hybrid build where I've added 4 Vs and I'm just using corrosive. So the setup I'm running is Hornet Strike for damage, Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot, Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot, Prime Pistol Gambit for crit chance, and Prime Target Cracker for crit damage. And this doesn't do a ton for the full auto mode, but it's awesome for the burst mode, and that's the mode that I prefer myself. Now, after that, I went with Stunning Speed because the 2.7 second reload was just way too much and I found it too obnoxious, so I added this, which also adds a little bit of status chance. And to top it all off, I went with Pistol Pestilence and Jolt for a ton of status chance and corrosive damage. Now, even though I'm using Stunning Speed here, the damage is actually still pretty solid, especially if you pepper the enemy a little bit with the full auto mode before switching over to burst fire, especially when they have armor, so you can strip a lot of it away with a ton of corrosive procs. But yeah, I was actually quite impressed when I finally took it into the simulacrum after the final Forma and did some testing. And it's not like you have to pepper the enemy to begin with the full auto before going into the burst fire, because you're firing 4 bullets which are all getting the benefits of multi-shot, so you're still proccing a lot of status even if you're just going full burst mode. So yeah, even though I am using a utility mod in the form of Stunning Speed, which yes I know it adds a little bit of status which isn't that big of a deal, it still does great damage. The only instance where this particular setup kind of falls short is with high tier corpus, where the corrosive isn't doing an awful lot, so if you're going up against higher tier corpus, just use gas instead. It's still not gonna be like amazing because you're gonna have electricity getting in the way, but you know, at least you'll get some crowd control as well. And now we come to the conclusion. So what do I actually think about the Quatz? Well, I'm a little bit torn on this one, because while I personally like it, there are some downers. 2 of the biggest ones being the reload speed, 2.7 seconds is just way too much. And the second one is ammo economy, because if you don't have carrier or ammo mutation, you're gonna run out of ammo. It's just a thing that will happen. It's of course going to be less of an issue if you just use the burst fire mode. In that case you will be able to finish most missions no problem, but if you sprinkle in a bit of auto here and there, you are going to run into ammo issues if you don't have any kind of ammo mutation. I also know that some people, like Headshot for example, don't like the way the fire modes are done, in that if you want to go full auto you either have to just not aim down sights or start firing from the hip and then aim down sights, and if you want to burst fire you have to aim down sights. And I don't find that too obnoxious for this one particular weapon. I wouldn't want it on every weapon, but as sort of a one-off thing, sure, why not? And finally, while I know some people are kind of indifferent about the reload mechanic, the Shock Nova Smack Bang thingy, I really like it because it kind of makes me play differently, because with most weapons in Warframe, when I start reloading, especially when it's a lengthier reload, like 2-ish seconds and above, I kind of hide in a corner and I'm like, please don't knock me down, mister, I'm just reloading me weapon over here. But with the Quatz, I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. I charge into the biggest group of enemies and just stun them all and kind of prime them for headshots in a way, because of the way they stand when they get hit with an electricity proc. They kind of expose their head. Also, it's really fun if you're listening to like a drum and bass or something to try and align combine the smack of the magazine with the drop. That is really fun and something that I may have done for like an hour while I was leveling this thing. But ultimately I am going to say yes and recommend this weapon because it's pretty unique and it's very cheap. You can just pick it up from the market, you build it, you try it out, and if it's not your kind of thing, you can put it into the naughty box after you get all the mastery from it and never touch it again. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video and I shall see you some other time. Bye bye!